Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment clip. My name is Wood. Please subscribe to the channel. If you like the way that anything is presented or discussed, hit that like button for me. That's very important. I got a couple of different talking points to run down before I get on off of here. Hope you have a great weekend. Although weekends are a little bit differently since all these days are running together in these quarantine circumstances. But I'm gonna talk about a few entertainment notes. HBO's Insecure, Amazon's BOSCH season 6. Netflix has a new movie out, new action joint out there featuring or starring Chris Hemsworth. Also, I had to circle back to an album by Freddie Gibbs and Madlib called Bandana. A couple thoughts on that. Got some thoughts on the Wooden Award winner. Oh, and kind of an interesting gesture of sportsmanship and adult maturity between Obi Toppin and Iowa center Luka Garza. Also, and then finally, some thoughts on Floyd Mayweather Jr. and what's been going on with him lately. So, really quickly, man, to get into these entertainment notes. One of my favorite shows. I am a male, and so on and so forth. But one of my favorite shows is HBO's Insecure, starring Issa Rae. And that show, the debut for, I think this is season 4. I should have made a note of that. But I believe it's season 4, kicks off this Sunday night. It's a 30-minute kind of sitcom. You might think that it's all about, all about women or black women. But I think that would be selling it short. I just like the some of the different. I like the way that the comedy happens on the show. It's about relationships, male, female, as well as interracial relationships, as well as woman to woman in terms of just girlfriends or women supporting one another, friendship. It's to me, it's just very down to earth storytelling, and even though it's a generation or so behind where I'm in my life, man, it's a good way to peek in on what's going on, and how younger people are doing things at the moment. I do see quite a few older and young people, gravitating to the show and enjoying it and whatnot. And like I said, Issa Rae is one. Should be one of the more inspirational people out there to any creators. If you look at what she's done over the last 6 to 7 years. So Insecure gets going for season 10. For season 4. Also on Amazon Prime or Amazon Video, if you're streaming, you're streaming your content, you might know what I'm talking about. But their detective or investigative series BOSCH, with feature or starring Titus Welliver, returns next week. I believe that might be Friday. Yeah, Friday. BOSCH season 6. I saw something earlier where BOSCH is arguably one of the better serials, not the stuff that you get out your pantry, but one of the better TV series out there that you might not know about. But Jamie Hector has a large role, or probably is the co-star in that one. But it's an ensemble kind of thing. But that returns, like I said, next Friday or April 17th. And there will only be one more season after this. That's been confirmed. There's an article out there on deadline.com, I want to say. But you can verify that in multiple places. But it's definitely one of my favorite shows. This season is supposed to be one of the bigger, the scope of the investigation or the crime that's taking place, I guess, involves radiation poisoning. And if you know if you know how the show goes, man, it's just a dope way to to telling to storytelling and to handling an investigation outside of doing it in like 45, 48, or 52 minutes if you're watching one of the weeklies on network TV. They take a lot of time to dig into the personal lives of Jamie Hector and Titus Welliver, who plays BOSCH. But check that out. I would love to chop it up with anybody that's a fan of that show. Like I said, it is one of the best. It is one of the most well done programs that's out there, in my opinion. Also, there's a trailer out there for this new movie, an actioner on Netflix that stars Chris Hemsworth. He's some kind of black ops, special ops, wet works, whatever you want to call it. Some kind of Jason Bourne type guy that I guess is that specializes in extracting targets from various situations, and it looks like he's helping some young kid out of to get out of some South American country or South or Central American country, and it all goes wrong for him, and it's big. It seems like a big budget, typical guns, hand-to-hand combat, and so on and so forth, explosions, car chase scene, and so on and so forth. But I'm just interested to see how they pull it off, and it looks like it could be one of Netflix's better original movies. Moving on to a little bit of hip hop. I've been seeing for a year or so, or maybe 2 years, about Freddie Gibbs. And he's a West Coast rapper. I really just have kind of been slow to get around to the guy. Mainly because when I listen to people's thoughts on projects or music, I'm looking for certain things before I'm really interested before I think it's a good match for me and a good value for my time. But he recently appeared on NPR Tiny Desk concert series. And it was a live arrangement with like 5 or 6 band members, also featuring producer Madlib. So I've been hearing about this project called Bandana. Finally had a chance to check it out, and it's dope. I've heard of. I'm pretty familiar with Madlib's production, but I felt like on this one, he really put forth a collection of songs and different production that really resonates with me. And I think Freddie Gibbs did a pretty good job on there. I'm not going to go into a full review. I might do that later. But it's probably 17, 18 songs. Or maybe 15. But some dope features are on there. Anderson .Paak is on there. Yasin Bey, also known as Mos Def, is on there. Give it a shot. But check out the NPR show. I think it's like maybe 15 minutes, 17 minutes runtime. And just to hear the beats or the beats reproduced with live instruments is a really good look. And maybe that can be an introduction. If you're not a fan of Freddie Gibbs already, maybe that's an interesting way to get to know the guy. But I'm gonna check the album out a couple more times. He's an interesting West Coast guy. Doesn't just come off as West Coast. It's a lot of influences from East Coast to some of the down south kind of sing song type rap is going on. He's a pretty versatile guy. I'm gonna check it out a little bit more. But the production on there, I'm a fan of the project. So let's get on to some Division I basketball with Obi Toppin and Luka Garza. I'm not gonna go into the whole thing. I did some videos on the Dayton Flyers and Obi Toppin. I think I think on one hand that it's dope that that Toppin coming from UD or University of Dayton. I think they ended the season at number 3 in the country. But it's dope that a guy could get it coming from the Atlantic 10, could get the Wooden Award and the AP Associated Press Player of the Year. And Garza, averaged a few more points per game than Toppin. Everything else was kind of even, or, they split it down the middle almost. I think the one thing is that the Flyers went 29-2, went 18-0 in their their conference with a huge differential, or the difference that they won by was pretty significant too. And then on the other hand, Iowa went 11-9 in the Big Ten, somewhere middle in the pack. They did do well against everybody. They lost their only game against Michigan State. I think split pretty much with all the other bigger teams in the conference. But I don't know. Tough for Luka Garza. But I will say, man, a little bite down boxing nod to Luka Garza, man. He went out to Twitter and said, this is at Luka G_55, Hawkeye Nation. Before you all react, I just want to say that winning one out of the 6 National Player of the Year awards and to be named National Player of the Year by 6 other media outlets is a tremendous honor for my family, the University of Iowa, and myself. Let's all congratulate at Obi Toppin 1 for his incredible season. I just think that's one of those beautiful moments in sports, man. I mean, you could easily give it to either one of these individuals. I thought Garza might edge it out, especially had the season, the rest of the season played out, and both of these guys had opportunities to, to showcase their talent and whatnot in the conference tournament. And then as well as in March Madness, maybe it's some difference here. But I just think the full impact of Toppin is probably, it probably separates him a little bit from Garza. Garza is a junior. Obi Toppin is a redshirt sophomore and, a top 10 projected NBA lottery pick. 29-2. His stat line, 20 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 1.2 blocks. And his efficiency, man, 70% on all shots in beside the 3-point line, and then shot nearly 40% from beyond the arc. That's tough to beat. And his efficiency really allowed the Flyers to be a highly efficient team. And it's just it's one thing to, with the pandemic, for this team to not get a chance to get out of the A10 and go show its skills and ability versus the national, the top 25 crowd, top 40 or whatever, top 50, however you want to look at it, we'll just never know. But how much did this cost, at the heart of this, how much did this cost Anthony Grant, the coach of the Flyers, who also won a Coach of the Year, at least one Coach of the Year award himself? But how many millions did this pandemic cost him individually? All right, a couple bite down boxing topics really quickly. Tonight on Showtime is some real heat for boxing fans. You can check out, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, you can check out the replay of Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo 1 and 2 tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. So do yourself a favor and check out. Incidentally, I just had a chance to appear on a podcast, The Real Deal with Damian Adams. And this was one of the fights that we got into when discussing our most rewatchable fights, our top 5 rewatchable fights for both of us. And Corrales and Castillo was one of the fights that we did discuss. So that's great timing for that. Do yourself a favor, or do Damian Adams a favor and myself, and check that out. That's The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Also, I talked about this on my IG I went live on Instagram from the at Bite Down Boxing account and talked through, kind of what was going on with Floyd Mayweather lately. And we know Uncle Roger passed away. The mother of at least one of his children, I thought it was a couple, but Josie Harris, I believe was her name, was found dead in her car. I think she was 40 years old. That was a few weeks ago. And then, last week, his daughter, Ayanna, supposedly, allegedly stabbed another female involving NBA or rapper, NBA YoungBoy, a bunch of young people stuff. I don't know. I don't really care about all the details, but we also saw Floyd come out and do, made a statement, a crass statement, in my opinion, on the whole COVID-19 situation, and wanted to say or try to show to the world in a video that he was still doing good despite what everybody else is going through. And he put up, $100,000 or 90, whatever it was, a handful of bandit money, and said, he's made wise investments, so nothing is hurting him. And, Floyd, I'm hit and miss with what he's trying to talk about. But I think, he had a really redemptive moment. If you've seen his Instagram or social media accounts in the last couple of days, I don't fly off the handle on all of this stuff because I kind of have an idea of what the brother might be going through outside of what he wants people to believe is going on. But I felt like he had a decent, and maybe this is scripted or staged, but he actually has a couple videos out there doing some training with his son. I think his name is Karan. And then most recently with his nephew, I want to say, 14-year-old nephew, were doing some pad work. And he just had a long caption on the video, just talking about this is how he wants to give back. He thinks it was important. It was detrimental to his success that his uncle Roger poured into him and helped him get the basics of boxing and bring him along, and especially the whole Money May era, what that did for him financially and individually, and all the accolades and whatnot. And so now, he said it sounds like he's had a moment of introspection or to reflect, and just said, the right thing to do would be to give back to others and help them pursue their goals and whatnot, and to help try to give them a future. And I think, when you look at the situations, the loss to the deaths of Roger and Miss Harris, and then some uncertainty with with his daughter. It's just a moment. Maybe some things got through for the kid, the brother, and like I said, a lot of people see some of this stuff, man, and want to hit the internet and weigh in and complain and call out and criticize and whatnot. But, that has to be a hell of an adjustment or a transition from Floyd. The roller coaster or the elevator, the rocket ship that he was on for the last several years, and then to hit, early 40s and move into retirement. And that precipitous of a fall, how do you replace, how do you replace being in the public's eye and going to work for great money? How do you replace that feeling? And maybe he stumbled around the last couple of years, but he's done his promoter thing and whatnot. But it has to be more meaningful, probably, to deal with youngsters that are more malleable and you have blood relations with, versus whatever he might be may or may not be accomplishing with a Gervonta Davis. So we'll see what happens. Let me get on off of here. This is Bite Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.